why Katharine Hepburn is on the wall now.
She's a good actress.
That's it? Just because she's a good actress?
She's a very good actress.
Yeah. Okay.
I've read her autobiography and her book about the making of the African Queen.
Okay. So that's it? Okay. If that's enough, that's
What?
enough. Okay. Well, all right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, listening to Cube Nerds, episode 31. I told you like 10 times that we were going live. So we're live.
We are live, and I have an echo of the entire thing about 2 minutes.
What do you mean?
I
My
can
voice
hear
is
everything
echoing?
you just said a minute ago, like now, as if it was live.
Do you have it open on your screen as well? Do you have Facebook open?
Maybe I do. Give me a second. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, that's probably the live stream on Facebook that you're hearing, or on
And
YouTube.
everything's fine now. How
There
about
you go. Yep, because we are live streaming on Facebook, on YouTube. I don't think we're on Twitter right now, because I don't do a lot with the Cube Nerds Twitter. But
Well, I just sent the link to Twitter, which is why I was open on my side.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry about
So yeah. So yeah, we're live. So how was your Monday?
My Monday was pretty good. Busy, as it always is, trying to get things done. But I had a late night last night working on different things and recording. And so I got a little bit of sleep in the morning. And outside of that, it's freezing out. It's a cold day, but it was a really nice day out.
Was
So I
it?
got out for a little bit of a walk. Yeah.
Don't get me started, man. I can't stand this Jersey weather. I told the
Well,
story. I told the story on Mind Your Effing Business, and I told it to actually somebody. I told it to my boss today in a call. Like, so my son had football one day, and he had a football game on a Saturday morning at like 9 a.m. So, all right, let's bundle him up in 2 layers of clothing because it's 30 degrees outside. And then he had to run out with the older kids in the afternoon. So, okay, so after the game, we got to go home, strip down to shorts and a t-shirt because now it's friggin' 65, 70 degrees outside. Ugh, I can't stand it. I hate it. I was talking about the snow too, because apparently there's snow coming. We're supposed to get a storm soon.
Schwa? I haven't seen the weather forecast.
Yeah, no thanks. Maybe one snowstorm and then I'm done. That's it, just to see it. Because it's almost like when it
It's not
snows.
even Thanksgiving yet.
Tell me about it. Oh my god, when it snows in October, I want to drive to. I want to move to Florida.
Well, we've had snow in October before. Remember
I know.
the October surprise? What was it, 10 years ago or 11?
Yeah,
The year before Hurricane Sandy hit
yeah. I was
in
supposed to go to
November.
this. I was supposed to go to the city for Halloween, and the snowstorm was so bad that we turned around and came home. As we were turning around to come home, a car veered off the road into the trees that off of Route 23, and it was a guy and his. We pulled over to check on them. It was a guy and his mom. They were going to a wedding at Crystal Springs, and we offered them a ride and stuff, but they said no, thank you. But yeah, it was freaking chaos. We were supposed to go to the city to party for Halloween, and yeah, we had to turn around and leave because the snow was so bad. I hate the goddamn snow. Hate it. I've had it. I have kids, so I have to enjoy it to a certain extent. But man, myself, forget about it. Commuting. Again, now you can work from home, but commuting to work in it,
Absolutely.
that's stress. And if you're
Decades of
home,
working and driving in the snow.
yeah,
And remember, when I used to do retail, I had, unfortunately, the stupid keys, which means somebody's got to unlock the store.
oh my god, yeah.
And, the store isn't closed if the mall isn't closed, and the mall isn't closed if Sears opened.
Ugh.
And so, rather than trying to depend on somebody else to be there, otherwise you could find thousands of dollars of money. And if you're in charge, you're fired, if you don't open the store in time.
Yeah, see, that's bullshit.
Oh, there were nights where I just stayed the night rather than try to get in at 4 a.m. through gosh knows how much in the way of snow.
Terrible. Well, our last company, remember, they used to put us up in they were going to put us up in a hotel one night.
Well, that was just for the hurricane.
That was for a snowstorm.
Oh, okay.
And then it ended up.
Well, it didn't used to be like that. Instead, it was like,
ago.
well, if you guys are far away, you can leave now. And the worst of it, call us when you get home, and then we'll send another wave home. And
yeah. But now, I mean,
Uh,
again, thankfully, you
Sometimes that
you
worked.
see,
Sometimes it did not.
but now like you have the option truly to work from home. Like I've talked about this,
Yes.
I could do my whole job on my phone. So to have the option to work from home, to be safe, it's like, okay, thank goodness. But then
That's
also
right.
too, the difficult part about it now too is just companies are all over the place. We're not just located out of Jersey. Well, they're in Georgia, they're in Indianapolis, they're in California, they're in Texas. So you can't get away with like, oh, well, it's just, oh, well, I guess you can and you can't, because not everybody's being affected, which is a good thing. So the company can still keep running and not everybody's hit by the snowstorm. But you could say, hey, I got hit by the snowstorm pretty bad. And they have no idea because they're all over the country.
Hmm.
So you could just say, hey, let me take a picture when there's a really bad snowstorm and just take a couple of pictures and then just use those pictures to text to your boss and say, hey, look, the snowstorm is terrible. Look at the highway. It's covered in snow. Had to turn around and go home. Sorry. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use that idea that I just came up with right now. I feel like I always say that because I'm like gonna use that picture and then I never do it. But I'm gonna have to now because that's an idea.
I like that.
Yep. So you're recording a
Anyway,
new book. You're staying busy.
I'm staying busy, but that's a good point though. For cube nerds, is that the whole working remote thing changes up the basic game from a little less problematic, or a little more problematic to a little bit less
Yeah.
because of this.
Well, I mean, you
And
have. Well, no, go ahead.
no, no,
Well, I was gonna say because even looking at here at this podcast, like there's another podcast. Listen, there's a wrestling podcast, and they stream every Monday too. They stream every Monday starting at 6:50. So like they're ending just as we're starting. It's the Shining Wizards Wrestling Podcast, but they're three guys from Jersey, and they used to get together at their friend's house in his basement, and they'll sit on their couches with all their podcast equipment. They used to stream from there. Now, I mean, it started because of COVID, just like one of the podcasts I was on, the Comic Book Club. They used to have live shows at a bar or at the People's Improv Theater in Manhattan. They used to
hmm
have live shows there every Tuesday night. But because of COVID, that stopped. But they got to keep their podcast going. So they started doing it all remote, just like this.
yeah.
Now, even though the pandemic is kind of over, everybody still stuck with it because it's just easy. It's not that, oh man, I can't get to your house. I can't make it this week. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, I don't have to leave my house because I'm here. My kids are sleeping upstairs right now. I'm able to come downstairs and do the podcast. It's, it's a wild
Well,
time to be alive.
it certainly beats not getting together at all.
That's true. Exactly.
And so I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do miss actually getting out and getting together with us and our old friend Bert. Um, that was still preferable, I think, to Zoom. But if it wasn't for Zoom, we wouldn't be doing this right now. You've
Yeah.
got your hands full. You're very busy.
Oh, yeah.
And
It never stops.
yeah,
Never stops. Yeah. So, I mean, exactly. So it helps. It's something. It's something to keep it
it
going.
does.
I mean, this is well, I mean, if you don't count Halloween, because we didn't get to do anything on Halloween. But yeah, I mean, this is probably 2 months now almost that I've had a continuous podcast running every Monday, gone live at 9:45.
Hmm.
So that's a good thing to keep it going. Try to set the standard to make sure it's a thing, and we keep it going. Like I said, Seth couldn't make it this week. I know you're always down, and we already got the Cube Nerds brand, so you just keep that going as a substitute, or it's not even a substitute. I guess we just go back and forth. So yeah,
Yep.
we can always do something. I've got my little corner to my basement set up here. You've got your booth, so
Yep. I'm in my basement too. Just
yep.
in here. Unfortunately, it's quiet in the rest of the house right now, so
Mm-hmm.
won't be interrupted. I hope.
Yeah,
And unless the furnace starts to make noise again,
or
a
your
little weird
refrigerator
earlier
that
today.
you have to unplug so we can. But I tell you, I don't hear it at all.
Well, the refrigerator's not bad here. I don't know about yours, but in here, I wouldn't hear the refrigerator running, but the furnace I certainly hear.
Oh, okay. Now the furnace is on the other side of the floor for me, and I've got my little
And it
beer
was
refrigerator over
coughing up
here that you
rust
don't
or
hear.
something a little bit earlier. So if I hear it again, trust me, you will hear it
Yeah. No, I mean, like I
through the
said,
mic.
you've got good equipment, man. Your noise canceling microphone, and you know, I can't. I
I don't
can't
know.
even hear
Your
anything. As long as I
broadcast
hear your
quality
voice.
sounds fine to me.
Well, that's a good thing too.
And
Somebody
if
on
anybody's listening right now, feel free to put it into the comments.
there's a few. Somebody said it's good to see you guys together. So a reminder for any Facebook user, if you look at the body of probably I think it's the body of this on Facebook, it tells you to sign up at streamyard.com/Facebook. If you sign up on there, you can actually so we can see your name. Because right now it'll just come up as Facebook user if you don't do that. Um, but I'll have to go onto Facebook and then see who said that if I can. Let's see. Oh, it's
I'd
my
look in
dad.
YouTube. Oh.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Mr. Spear. I've never met him.
Yes, you must have met him at my wedding.
Oh, at your wedding, of course.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yep. I got a phone call the other day too from our friend Herb, who we
Ah,
used to work with too, who left the glory of working in a cubicle doing phone support to be a longshoreman. And from pretty sure from every time I've talked to him, he loves it. He's making a killing at dough. He works some crazy hours, but it's better than sitting in a cubicle, and he loves the money. So yeah, so imagine that, leaving that to be a longshoreman, and I don't remember how old he was, but yeah, he loves it.
wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yep,
And I thought he lived in Pennsylvania, but
he does.
perhaps.
He lives in
Well, where
Pennsylvania.
is he a longshoreman? They don't have much of a shoreline in Pennsylvania outside of Lake
I'm pretty
Erie.
sure he's a longshoreman in Newark, and he has like 2 hour
That's a
breaks
commute.
between shifts or something like that. I think he stays with his daughter out there, and
Port Newark, yeah.
he works it out. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, he talks about, man, there's young kids that are just crushing it. They're gonna retire when they're like 35 because they're just putting in so many hours and racking up the money.
Could be,
It's
could
a
be.
yeah, it's a
Didn't we
deal.
used to
But
have a friend named Lenny?
Lenny, he did it too, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Port Newark.
Yep. Yeah, it's so many thinking about thinking about ventures like that. Like I said, now you went to do um the voice acting thing, but I mean again, that's only after, whatever came up and they
Well,
disbanded
they laid me off, so it
well,
wasn't like
yeah.
I had much of a choice besides moving or relocating. So that offer,
Yeah.
was given to me that I could relocate to where they moved the headquarters down to Virginia.
But
But
that's
it was
true.
not an option for my wife,
Yeah, hell no.
and
But
I
again,
certainly wasn't going to
yeah, no. That's I
rip up
know.
the family. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but also too, but now, yeah, like you said, they laid you off. They didn't have a choice. They pretty much closed down the whole department where we used to work.
Yeah.
But now you took it. You took advantage of that to do something you wanted to do, which
Yes.
is cool. You know. Um,
Well, fortunately, I was laid off, without cause or anything like that. It wasn't like I got fired or anything. And I was with the company long enough that they gave me a separation package.
yeah.
So I had a little bit of time and funds in order to pick up on something different to try.
hmm Which is awesome. And that's like I was saying. Like I'm trying to think of a lot of people that have left to do other stuff completely, and there really isn't all that many.
And it also reminded me that how many people we know who are still doing the 9 to 5 thing, who are still, working, a desk job. I mean, you're doing that still yourself full time,
Yeah. I was
and
thinking about
which
it
is
driving home.
incredible to me. I mean, I've worked more than 8 hours a day for quite a few years,
Mhm.
and I had the 60-hour work weeks, and in some seasons the 80-hour work weeks, and I don't really feel like doing that again. But for I maybe we should talk about what kind of tips to give to our friends, including you, who still are doing desk jobs and are trying to transition to the I heart work
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
jobs.
well, there you go. If you've got tips, I'd love to hear them because I was thinking about it on my way home from work now. Because now, again, today I worked 11 to 8 and then, did my hour-long 50-mile commute home.
Oof.
And I've been doing the same type of job. I've been doing tech support for payroll software for 19 years. It's
And
not,
I did it for 18 years.
But
Because I get a head start on you.
but here's the thing as well. So you did support, and then you went to like advanced like tech support,
Yes.
and then you got to do other things, like you got to do voice recordings and trainings. You got to do different stuff that was enjoyable to you.
Yes, it was.
Hmm.
And I was very grateful for the opportunity.
Now, did you? Because I don't think you did, from my memory serves me right, but you didn't really go out for a lot of positions.
I didn't try to leave the department that I was with, if that's what you mean. I didn't really feel like I wanted to switch up to a different area. We worked in, geez, I don't know how specific you want to get about what it is that we did there, but I didn't feel like switching over, let's say, to life insurance and working there. Like, I didn't really have any interest in supporting software or programs that did life support. Life support.
Life support. Yeah, sure. We'll go with life support.
Life
Look,
insurance, tech
you
support
didn't.
for life
Yeah,
insurance,
you
life
didn't want to do
support.
anything different, so to speak. See, that was my big problem too, because
and
I always
and I
felt,
I regret that. And
yeah, oh
that's
yeah,
that's one of my biggest tips for anyone listening and who should be listening. If
hmm,
if not, then Mike, you go and drag them and put them in front of the camera here.
yeah.
Career plan, folks. Don't just let happen what happens. Don't let water just roll over you and the years just roll by. Um, you know, one thing you have to do in order to do the work that you want to do is to plan ahead. Have a plan in mind. And keep in mind your family. The family comes first, even
Well,
before your career or anything else. And as a result, it's easy to tell people like, "Oh, just quit the job you don't want to do and just do what you love.
yeah,
The
not
money
so
will
easy.
follow," and all those other things that become sort of like where I go to the bookstore and I find, oh, where's my LinkedIn book of sayings of different things that will cheer people up in really depressing jobs where they want to move on. You have to take your family into account. You can't just leave a good job without a backup plan.
Well,
If you want to go to work for yourself, you've got to keep in mind things like insurance. Maybe not life
let's
insurance or life
use.
support, but medical insurance is extremely important in the United States.
So let's use my situation as the
Yeah,
example here.
yeah,
So I was 18 when I started doing what I was doing.
which is
18.
incredible. Yeah,
So I didn't have a family of my own. I didn't have a wife. I didn't have kids. So I didn't even, when it came to things like the stock options and the benefits, I was like, give me my money. I don't care about all that shit. Give me as much money as possible right now. Um, and then, then that's all I wanted. So, I mean, but then as I got older, I started thinking that, like, the Herb who I just mentioned, he was like, man, you got to do the stocks. He goes, I put a down payment on my house with the stock options from this place. So then I did it, and obviously I was grateful. 401k, I wish I was pumping so much more into that. I didn't care about any of that shit. I just wanted my money because it was just me. And I did, and I was living at home, and I was racking up money like crazy and all this other stuff. But now I just was kind of reaping the benefits when I was so young. And that's kind of the thing, like you said, you need to have a plan. I came right out of technical school. I thought I wanted to do computers and do tech support, and then graduate at where we were at, where the support of the support almost is what it was. That's what I thought I wanted to do when I was so young. So that's the route I kind of went.
yeah,
As time came, probably 10 years later, I realized, okay, I don't like this anymore because I'm not getting to do anything else. There's no other opportunities opening up. I've been doing this for so long. I have no management experience from anywhere else, you know?
yeah.
So what am I going to do? So what ended up happening is that I got stuck. So now if I wanted to become a manager, if I wanted to do a leadership role, I don't have any of that experience to bring to the table. And I I don't know if it's because of that, Because something that I've learned at my new position, because again, trying to go for leadership positions, nothing happening. No leadership positions happening. I'm stuck doing the same thing I've been doing for the last 7 years now. I'm still stuck doing that because I have no experience to do anything else, and there's no faith in me to do anything else. So the question becomes, because these are the kind of talks what I had. It's like, so to hire someone within the company to become a manager, that you almost have to have that confidence in them already that they've been a manager. And I've tried that, and that shit doesn't work either. I feel like I'm just a little too rough around the edges. When I see who eventually gets hired, I'm like, okay, I know why they hired him and not me, because they can mold him like clay, and that ain't gonna happen to me because
Well,
clearly I speak my mind too much. Go ahead.
I have a question for you. It's uh, which is basically that why do you want to be a manager in that particular position?
So that's always a
Is this
question.
something that you really love to do?
Well, this is what I
You're
was
good
circling.
at it.
This is something I was trying to circle back to that you mentioned as well. So because I was doing it for so long, like you said, you didn't want to go somewhere else. And,
No, and I didn't even feel like I wanted to stay with what I was doing. It's just that I was already good at it. I already had the experience to be better than anybody who had been hired more recently without that experience, I should
mhm,
say. Certainly, people who were more intelligent, more qualified than me were being hired left and right, with whatever backgrounds they might have had. But I at least had the experience and pretty good ability to communicate, I thought.
mhm.
But on the other hand, I mean, I was like, well, what do I have to show for this after X amount of time?
And
And is this really what I wanted to wind up doing at the end?
yeah.
Meaning that where do I go from here? And I hadn't
But now, how
mm,
long did you
picked
feel
that.
that way? Again, like you said, you didn't want to do something different, but you didn't want to do what you were doing, but you kept doing what you were doing. You didn't do anything to get out of it.
Well, I thought I had, to be honest with you. I liked doing the training, but then the training changed. And I didn't have any say in the direction that the training went in.
Mhm.
As
Okay.
far as that goes. I rolled with it as much as I could, but it became pretty obvious that they wanted to go in a different direction, or that at least they didn't want me helming it
Mhm.
at that point. I don't really want to go into the details about it because I don't think that's relevant for what we're talking about. But
Mhm.
I did want to say that I think that the direction I wanted to go in after that, I enjoyed, doing the videos, putting them out on YouTube, was sort of closed to me, and it
Mhm.
became something I couldn't do unless I left everything that I already knew. That was made very clear that I'd either have to move on to a completely different job, and if I wanted to stay with training, I would have to more or less be liable to be, shipped off to train
I
elsewhere
yeah, I
at a
remember that.
moment's notice, including training on things that, like I said, I didn't have any interest in.
So
I would have to train on any subject anybody gave me, whether I had an interest in it or any experience in it or not.
and that's
A challenge,
exactly
but
the way I feel about it is, okay, I've been doing this position for 7 years, let's say, 5 years, let's say. I've contributed a lot to this area of the company. I
yep.
know a lot about this area of the company. I know how things work in this area of the company. I'll use my team as an example to say, okay, so a management position came out for the manager of this team. Why wouldn't I go for it? I've been working on this team. I know a lot about everyone. I've talked with everyone. I have a relationship with everyone on this team. Why wouldn't I be a good fit? Instead, what happens is, and again, and the person they hired, I very much like. But instead, what happens is someone gets hired from a completely different division of the company who has no idea about our product, idea about anything that comes in. They're now the manager of my team, coming in completely clueless on what we do.
Well,
Do
I
you have any insight as to why that is a very common theme when it comes to hiring a position, a leadership position?
management is different. It's just a completely different level of working. You're now working for someone still, but now you have people working for you. And it's no longer what you're doing that's important, it's how it's getting done. The end result has to be the same, but with quite a lot of, I guess, corporate mentality.
Hmm.
It's whatever gets you to the end at the lowest cost and the fastest turnaround time that you possibly can, and whoever might, uh, I don't know, whoever might be best at just managing a team, irregardless of what they're actually working on.
Yeah, and this
I've
is
seen
something
this
too.
in every job I've worked at, and
And
I've worked at a few.
somebody said so. He said he was a manager at McDonald's before he came there. It's absolutely true. I thought about that. I'm like, what if I did like, what if I just moved up the ladder at McDonald's, on the side, and then okay, now I've got management experience. There you go. Because there, what for a time period, there was kids that they were hiring that were managers for the Geek Squad at Best Buy. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, now you're the manager of this group. Come in here and do some little support for a few months, for 6 months, and then we'll put you in a management position because you've got this kind of management experience. Like, okay, well, I've been doing this shit for fucking 20 years. I don't have any management experience. So am I screwed?
No, you're not. If
Okay.
you really want to
Explain to
keep
me how,
pursuing
because
it,
whatever I'm doing is not working.
it's a matter of almost, I would say, compliance with getting onto a project and seeing it through to the end. Now, so without being a manager with a promotion, having something in the position you're already in and overseeing it, basically managing it, a project manager, for instance.
Did that.
And
Did that a ton of times. Still no
and
luck.
well,
And
what was the end result of doing the projects? Was there a sum up at the end of it where did you have
no,
an evaluation of any kind about how that project ran?
not specifically. It was more a procedure change that I backed. I can think of two off the top of my head, one at the old company, one at the new company. Procedure changes that had positive results that I guess it was on me that I didn't quantify them specifically to have that to bring to the table to say, here, look, here's what I implemented and here's how good it did. Again, which is what I need to do. And that's kind of the last conversation I had with he was my former director, where almost how it became to marketing myself in that way.
Yes. And
Um,
that's a perfectly good point,
yeah,
is marketing yourself.
and he very much said, which it's crazy that it takes me 19 years to realize that you can't let the work speak for itself. Or I've been letting the work speak for itself, and that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Letting the work speak for itself is not something to get on anybody's radar. Unless it's substantially better than anyone else's that you stand out, like you'd have to be the perfect employee. And a numbers game, and where we come from in the support game, the numbers game is obviously the biggest thing. And there's a lot more to the numbers than just the numbers. And I've always been a lot more to the numbers than good numbers guy. Um, and that's why, I still have a job, is because obviously I'm valuable in a lot of other places, which that part is noticeable, but not good enough where it's going to get me somewhere else. You know, it's going to do just enough to keep me where I'm at.
You see, you don't really strike me as a corporate person, as somebody who's like really wants to succeed in corporate land.
Oh, I don't.
I mean,
That's
you
and
are,
the more I get
but
shut down,
you
the
have
more.
all of the talent, though.
Well, here's something that used to. So
Look at all the projects you've done on your own. We're here because of you.
yeah, but
All
this
of
shit
this
don't
around
matter.
us exists because of you.
This shit don't matter at my job.
Oh, really?
If I focus this kind of energy at something at my job, maybe, but I don't know what. And it's funny that after all this time, I can't think of anything to do that with it. And I get so caught up in the current role. Like, because now constantly, like, my manager is having the talk with me of saying, let me know if there's a direction in the company you want to go to. And we'll look into that. We'll have those talks. We'll try to get you pointed in that direction.
What can you do differently? Or what, almost like what kind of a job can you do differently? Bring something different from the way it's already being done. All of these tools that you've developed, just looking around here, I'm pretending that our YouTube channel is our room that we're in right now, or our Facebook group, our room right now. All of this is yours. Everything here you've put together carefully. We're on StreamYard. We're not even on Zoom, and we're getting a better picture quality than I think I've ever seen on Zoom or on Discord or on whatever live meeting got replaced with by Microsoft.
I like StreamYard.
And
StreamYard's good.
StreamYard's very good. Who found it? You.
From other people, but yeah.
I don't care. Does that matter? No. You did it. You take credit for it. You need to.
Well, again, this is all stuff that I enjoy
Bring this
doing.
kind of thing to the job you want to do there.
Yeah, and that's true. You know what? A lot of it is. See, a lot of this stuff is very much just marketing tools. Go ahead.
It's me interrupting. Sometimes
that's
just
all right,
me interrupting, and marketing tools. What were you saying?
No, I'm saying that's what a lot of this just does is like. This is just marketing. Okay, a podcast, a comic book, all this shit.
Do you know how important marketing is?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's that.
And it can be fun. It doesn't have to be a slog. It doesn't have to be, I got to do social media.
Oh, I do this. I do this stuff because it's fun, not because it's, it ain't paying the
I
bills.
never got an impression from you that it isn't fun. You always look like your comments are witty. They're on point. You're on time. And it's everything you'd want to see in an operation, in a corporation. So why can't you segue what you do here to there and bring it to a more fun level? It's why would you want to be a manager, I guess is what I'm saying, is that unless the management position itself allows you more to do of what you do good at. And you do plenty.
What I was told is that it's a management position is a lot of the same. It's not anything different. So if I don't like what I'm doing now, I'm not going to like being a manager of that group because it's the same. I think that's different because it's tech support that I don't like anymore. People support I've learned to very much enjoy. Speaking with folks and helping folks and all that stuff. And that's what I try to express is I like being a leader. I like doing leadership things. I like taking control. I don't like being in charge of supporting a product that, of doing it for so long too, the burnout factor sets in, unfortunately. And I'm just going through the motions. I'm not
another reason to get up and out of there and to something different. You have to get over the fear of, maybe it's not the same for you. For me, it was the fear of going out and finding that I'm either too old, which is something you don't have to worry about for quite a while yet.
I don't know, man. It's catching up on me now. Like I said, all these youngins are coming in. I'm now the guy that I used to talk shit to at the job. The guy who used to just be like, I know what I'm doing. I don't really feel that way because I honestly don't feel like I know what I'm doing at all still.
Really?
But I know we worked with people that were like, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm fine. I can do this. I'm doing this just fine. I should be the manager because I've been doing this for long. I know what I'm doing. And now I'm in a position where these young kids are coming in and like, oh yeah, let's try this. Let's do that. And I'm like, we don't need to do all that. There's no reason for that. But now I'm getting blown away by these kids and I'm just getting older and they're younger and they're coming in again, like with management experience from who knows where. And that's what they're looking for. And I've been doing the same thing for so long. I don't have any new experience and new people come in and blow right past me out the gate. And I'm just the workhorse that keeps grinding. And I don't know.
Sometimes you have to realize that a job can be either a bad job or a bad fit. And sometimes you don't have the tools in which to change the job so it fits you better. Because there's only so much you can change yourself to fit a job where you don't want to change. You don't want to compromise what it is that you really are passionate about. And like, well, I guess I could settle for this.
Yeah.
I could settle for the second best product. I can settle for doing it this way. Here's the thing that you're seeing, that you'll just continue to see more and more. The longer you're there or the older that you get is that you'll suddenly see everything you went through come back. And you'll be like watching other people arguing about something and like, we tried that 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
It
Yep.
didn't work. Would you like to know why? No.
I
And
see that now.
they actually won't be interested in talking about it. And you there is something about being young without wanting to hear the old guy. Like,
Yeah.
"It didn't work when I was young," because it gets annoying to hear that too. I'm cursed with this ability to see both sides of these things, and it drives me absolutely crazy. But it's true. You will see it come again and again of like, we already did that. It didn't work because we didn't have the resources. And you'll find people just like, let's push this person out of the way who's got objections, or they see as maybe not being very uh, I don't know, contributory, somebody who's agreeing with everything that they say.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know is you feel compromised because now you're agreeing with things and you've drawn a line in the sand and you're just watching that line get erased a little bit as you start saying like, "Oh, this isn't so bad. That's okay."
Yeah.
Even though you violently, feel it in your soul that you disagree with the way something's happening.
I mean, the
Or
whole
you don't care anymore, in which case it's good to go to a fresh job. It's good to do that.
yeah, you need to be rejuvenated I mean, sometimes even just talking about it. Like just talking about it kind of gets me motivated to it doesn't last long unfortunately, but it gets me motivated to just kind of dive back in and change things up. But then like something will happen and be like, there it is again. There's that reason why I'm burnt out and pissed off in the first place. That's the reason, and it keeps coming up. I mean, the whole Cube Nerds brand stemmed from being miserable and nothing coming of what I was doing. And how
Well,
can
I was in it with
I
you back then, remember?
yeah. But like,
Yeah, we were
okay, it
all
was
so
really
behind the 8 ball.
how can I take what I know and what I've done? How can I take 10 years of experience that's not doing shit for me at my job? And what can I do with that? And I'm like, oh, can I do a book? Maybe I could do a customer support training book. And I'm very much grounded in how I talk. I don't really hold anything back, which was a problem at my old place. I toned it down a lot at my new place, and they actually told me they enjoy it. They appreciate that I have an opinion, even though it hasn't gotten me anywhere. But it was something that and then,
Your honesty always outs. Somebody said here because you're not a suck ass, a little bit
I know I've
before,
been I've been
which is
moving down the
true. You
comments,
say
yeah.
you always strike me as honest, and you do it in a witty way.
But it's a problem at a corporate environment.
It is if it's not an appropriate meeting, but I don't think I've ever heard you say anything inappropriate during a meeting.
Mm, you haven't
The
been in
only
a lot of
time I
meetings
think
then.
I've ever seen you is when you're on the phone with somebody, and sometimes your voice gets loud, like mine does. If you remember me on the phone, just you could hear me on the other side of the room when I would go like, "Oh my gosh, you got it!" Something
I
like
have
that,
that
really
problem
loud.
now. Working working with, working with my wife's on one side of the room and I'm on the other. We both have to be like, "Shh, I'm on the
Yes.
phone." That's exactly
So
what
I
happens.
I was like that. But anyway, so if you do say something that is gonna strike, somebody with a suit as inappropriate, that's normally when that happens. But when you're in a professional, meeting of some kind or on a phone call of some time, I've never heard you be anything but proper and
Yeah, I mean,
saying the right, um, format of things, I guess.
I mean, again, that's what I try to do, obviously. I mean, at my last job, there was a lot of times where I got to the point where I just didn't hold back. And then obviously in hindsight, I'm like, God, what the hell was I thinking? I go through old Facebook statuses and I'm
Well,
like, oh
at
my God,
least you
what was I
didn't
doing?
throw keyboards,
Yeah, no, I
and
wasn't
mice, didn't fly through the air.
kind of did that sometimes. But again, I was young. I started when I was young. I was a kid. Then I
Yes.
grew up and I was like, God, well, it was so ridiculous. What was I doing? But that's where going to a different company entirely was hoping that fresh start was there. I was hungry right out the gate. And then eventually it was just down, 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 defeated, defeated, nothing happening. And then back to where I was last time. So obviously, because my wife said it too, is the problem is me because,
It's the
eh,
problem is that you need to have a timer, and you have to have something to go to next, if you wanna stay sane.
yeah,
Now, this isn't like the, there is no analogy anymore. Everything changes so quickly. I can't even say like, "Oh, it's like in the days when they used to do this," because those days, if they ever existed, the good old days or whatever, were still in flux from whatever existed before that.
Yeah,
And there are no companies where you just work an entire lifetime any longer and doing the same exact thing for 30 or 40 years. And thank
because there's so
goodness there
much to
isn't.
do.
You would go nuts. You'd
Yeah.
be on an assembly line if you
Well,
were doing something like that.
some people used to enjoy that. My dad, as the example, my dad was a union iron worker for,
ah,
I don't know, over 40 years.
and my
And
grandfather, yeah,
he loved your grandfather was an iron worker?
not an iron worker, but he was an engineer.
Okay.
Do you remember the Hoffman LaRoche building?
No.
Or do you know where that is? Oh,
No.
he was one of the people who helped build it
Okay.
back in the day. And yes, he had welding stuff and all that. And
And, yeah, you know what? That's like a satisfying job. And I don't get that out of our job. Like my dad never complained about work. He was gone in the but when I got up for school, he was already gone and working. And that's when I was like, man, I never want to do that job because I don't want to get up for school, let alone get up for work earlier than I'm already getting up and do that. But he did it and he never complained and he loved
yeah,
it. And because it was different places, different jobs. It was fresh, but it was something enjoyable. Not sitting at a desk staring at a computer screen. Now, also go ahead.
my dad was the same kind of thing. Never complained. But as soon
Th-
as he retired, uh, that was it. He never like, well, Dad, do you ever miss? No.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's the thing too.
Like, whoa.
Because
Like,
my
didn't
dad,
realize what sacrifices he had made
yeah, he was
to put
worried.
food on the table.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like I
And
said,
I
it was a
think
job I
that
never
was
wanted to do.
one of the main things I wanted to mention about why it's so hard to get out of a rut is the fact of you wanting to take care of your family. And
Yeah.
you don't want to risk losing a job. You don't want to risk moving to another job and then suddenly getting fired or finding or feeling that, oh, I'm not measuring up. The stress is just too much. I can't take it anymore. And maybe my family doesn't have to eat this month.
Hmm. Well,
That's the main reason, at least
always
for me, that it was hard for me to move
that's
from
absolutely
one
true.
job to another.
That's exactly because you can't. Because always when you hear of something big happening, is if somebody makes a giant move or they take a bold step, it's because they got nothing to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Hold on one sec. Oh, hello. Hold on one second. Oh, okay, you're home.
Anyway, I just
Okay.
wanted to
All right,
say
give it a
to
sec.
the people still
All right,
listening
look,
here
look.
that
Yeah, I can't hear you because I took my
is
headphones off. But yeah, take over, Scotty.
is
I'll be
that
back in a
Mike's
minute.
right, and it's something to be extremely mindful of is not wanting to put your family at risk. But that being said, it's best to always go in with a plan. Anytime you have a job, always be prepared for what happens next. Don't just leave it there and let the days go on and like, well, it's today was a great day. Today's a good day. Tomorrow, and okay, that was all right. The week went okay. But at some point, everything ends. And at some point, the team that you're with, people leave, people move on. You can have a great time with a certain group of people in a certain position, but everything changes at some point. Be prepared ahead of time. Don't just not have a plan. And so, if you want to learn from anything that I've done wrong in the past, I've done plenty wrong. I don't think I was the best manager that I could have been, although I was a manager for about 15 years in total, mostly retail. And it's just a matter of making sure that if you don't have any time to think creatively or in your free time to get out of that position that you're in. There's nothing so bad as just working yourself to death or that doesn't help your family any if you're not in a position that you can pull back out of what you're doing if it's really going to what was that if it's a position that's going to impact your family negatively as far as your own health goes. So, anyway, um, something else that we wanted to talk about tonight was if you give me a second here, I've got notes hidden down here somewhere. And okay, so what about doing things creatively? All right, let's say you're in a job, a desk job kind of thing, which is the background that I've had and that Mike has had, and you want to get out of that. Maybe you have a little bit of time where your days are not too long and your family life isn't too strenuous. Now, what Mike was telling me earlier that I've been through before is sports for your kids, for instance. That takes a lot of evening time away from you. How about helping your kids with homework? That's time that should be very valuably spent as well, not to mention reading to your kids. As a reader, I can tell you it's very important that you read with your kids and turn the screens off for a while. And that's one of the best tips that I can give you is that I, when my kids were young, I told them they could stay up late, even with the light on, as long as the screens were off. So you don't have to fall asleep right now. You can still read. If you don't want to read, lights are off. And we would just call it that. But anyway, so you've got all of the family time that you've been spending. You've got the time you spent at work. What's left? Do you have any time to do anything for yourself? You do. No matter
Yes.
what you think, you do. And it's a matter of planning. Be very careful with it. Give yourself some health time. Every day I try to walk. Every day, even when I was working full time, that was my lunch half hour, whatever it was. Get out of the building, walk around. Cold? Who cares? Snow? Screw it. I'm walking in the snow then. Whatever, just to get out of the building, breathe a little by myself, just carve a little bit of time where I could disengage my brain out of work mode and into anything else mode, whether it be a podcast, to which I owe Mike my thanks for giving me that as an out in the years before I didn't have anything to focus my mind outside of worrying about work. You got me into the Nerdist podcast
I remember
back
that.
in the day when there weren't any other podcasts to speak of.
I know. I love podcasts. I was thinking about it today because there was a wrestler named Mick Foley who has his own podcast, and he put it off for like 4 years. He's like, "Aren't there enough wrestling podcasts? Because there are. There's 100 million wrestling podcasts." And I said this to Seth for Mind Your Effing Business. I'm like, man, the cream rises to the top. I mean, if it's interesting, plus it's just enjoyable to do in the first place for us.
Yeah.
But if it's good and it's interesting, I mean, people will gravitate to it. You keep spreading the word about it and marketing it, and it'll grow and grow and grow. And because everybody's unique, everybody's got their own voice. So there could be 100 people talking about wrestling, and it could be 100 good podcasts. But for 100 different people, because somebody might like this one and not like that one because they like those guys
Yeah.
and what they talk
Yeah.
about. I want to touch on real quick. My dad threw out, "It's my fault I instilled an iron worker attitude in you." I remember there was a guy we used to work with, and he talked about unionizing. He was jokingly talked about
Yeah.
unionizing
I
the
think I
tech
know who you're
support.
talking about.
Yeah. And he was like, "Imagine if we did that." And I would go to my manager and be like, "Fuck you, you can't talk to me like that." Because I heard about guys getting into fights and all kinds of shit. Ain't no HR department on the job site.
That's true.
Yeah,
There
but I
are
mean,
certainly a lot harder jobs than doing desk jobs, I'll tell you.
yeah. So another thing too
Especially
is
construction.
the
Oh,
idea came up of more money.
more money's a good thing.
Yeah.
It can be a bad thing. You'll tell me if you think of one, but more money is a good thing. Anything that helps you to not, geez, if you've been poor or if you've ever lived out of your car, I think you'd know that having a little bit of, it solves problems.
Yeah.
More money can be a very important factor.
Now I think for a lot of things, the only reason you do a new job is for more money.
Is it a good enough reason, though?
Well, however, I think in a corporate environment, it's not the case because I'm to the point now where I mean, I do okay on money. I mean, I'm not struggling between my wife and I. I mean, even with all the shit we've got going on, we're thankfully not struggling. Um, but I don't look, I like, if I need a new job, it doesn't have to pay me more money at this point. I'm willing to take a lateral move to do something different because I'm so fed up with what I'm doing. Yeah, or recognition. We'll take that. I'd take that over money at this point because I do all right with
Yeah.
the money, um, recognition. But yeah, but I mean, so it's not always about money anymore. I feel like in a corporate place, it's not about money. Because I mean, we definitely had the conversations and arguments in the past about, well, look, you got me doing all these other new tasks, and you're not paying me any more money for it. In a corporate environment, yeah, you're doing all these tasks, you're not getting more money for it, and yeah, you hope you get the recognition that they see that and they're stepping stones to move ahead. How many times are you doing all that extra work and you get nothing out of it? All the
Plenty of
time.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every time and every manager has they read from the same book where they tell you like, "Oh, well, sometimes you need to move. You kinda you hit the ceiling here, so you need to move over so you can start going up again." And it's like, "Okay, I get that, but now like it's just to the point of happiness." Like I'm willing to do a lateral move without a new
Right.
crest nor money just to do something that I would enjoy doing and not feel so burnt out anymore at this point. All other duties are assigned
As assigned.
By Dave Gould. All of the duties as assigned.
Yes, which means
What's
that, whatever isn't in your, job description has now become your job description by saying that your job is this and everything else that we decide to give you.
I haven't heard that term. I'm not familiar with that. That's funny.
I heard it.
I clearly because you corrected me. All other duties as assigned. Okay, so
Yep. It's
what that
boilerplate for,
that means whatever we tell you to do, you do it.
you're our bitch.
That's funny. Yeah.
Dance, you mud turtle, dance!
So,
To quote from the movie The 10 Commandments.
sounds about right. Yeah, but I mean,
Um,
and I don't worry
yeah,
about that anymore either. Where it's like, look, because I always hated that. I always hated, well, that's not my job. Like, tough shit. Your job is a lot of things. And I never looked at it as, oh,
you're
that's not
right.
my job.
You're right.
Because the mentality should be like, yeah, okay, well, let me take that on. And then with the hope that I look good that I took that on and
Well,
it helps me get ahead.
now there is an understanding about that, but then there is also the, pushing it too far bit of it. Now,
What do you mean by pushing it too far?
in France, a few years ago, like 5, I think, they passed a law that, companies weren't allowed to fire people,
Oh, yeah.
which is job security, huh? You're not allowed
Yeah.
to get fired, until there was a recession, in which case companies basically were losing money because they weren't allowed to lay anybody off. They had to keep them employed.
Yeah.
So how do you get somebody to leave who doesn't wanna leave that you can't get to leave? You change their job. You take
Hmm.
somebody who's done this and you put them in a sales job or something, and
You
people
make
started to
them so
commit
miserable that
suicide.
they quit. Oh, yeah, I've seen that, where it takes months to fire somebody because they're just doing nothing, but they don't wanna fire them because they don't wanna deal with the hassle.
Yes, so you can stress somebody out to the extent that they will quit even though it's not in their best interest
Mhm.
money-wise to quit.
Yeah.
And so there again, something that's even more important than money is just the fact that if whether you have livable conditions at your office or not.
Yeah. Yeah, how much can you tolerate that we're gonna throw at you? Have you heard of this one before? I'm giving you an unrecognized promotion.
No, I haven't.
I hope that's not an actual thing that
An
managers
unrecognized
say.
promotion. I don't
Yeah.
even know what that means.
The assistant to this
Oh,
the
you're
assistant
getting a
to
new
the
title. You're getting a new title.
okay.
And that falls into one of my corollary laws of business, which is you are an hourly employee until there is no way on God's green earth that you can get your job done in less than 40 hours a week, at which point, hey presto, you are now salaried.
Yeah, that just happened. We just switched to hourly, and now we have to punch in and out for
Which means you
our
get overtime,
lunches.
unless you're a
Yes.
contractor, in which case you get nothing,
Yeah.
which of course means that most of the people who are being hired these days are being hired as contractors.
But it's obviously, it's not all the overtime you can handle. It's like, we're going to monitor your overtime, make sure you're not racking up too much overtime, because then we
Yes,
have to compare that to your numbers to make sure you're doing all that work that matches up with all that overtime.
and I've seen this again and
And
again and again. I
exactly,
have seen the never-ending pendulum swing back and forth between, hourly, salary, benefits,
exactly.
no benefits, and, you're not telling me anything I haven't seen at least 5 times.
Yeah. And dance the dance of working for the company. That's what it is.
Well, again, it does bring down to, like, is this the job you want? So I think that's really what we're talking about here. You are making a case for, like, you know what, I'm in a desk job I don't like. I want to stay in the desk job I don't like and make it better. Maybe get a promotion to do a job where I get to do something I haven't done before. I want the chance to do that. You don't necessarily want to leave to just be in business for yourself. Is
Well, I
that
know
correct?
some people, I would love to be in business for myself. Maybe that's where the leadership stuff comes into. I don't like,
You've already
uh,
taken a leadership role in this.
yeah, I know, but
All
this
the
is all just
social
for me.
media stuff that
Anybody,
you're doing,
anybody
your
can,
own comic book
anybody can
company
do that.
and comic. No, no, anybody can do it. Almost no one does it.
Okay, I mean that's true,
Don't
but
shorts, or whatever the expression is.
well, I mean, again, I'm
Give
just
yourself some
being
props, man.
logical because it's not. I mean, again, yeah, it's stuff that takes a lot of work, but it can grow a lot more if I put a lot more work into it. I mean, that's just how it goes, but which I don't do. But I mean, it's all stuff that you know that and that, like I said, that anybody could do. I mean, this stuff's not hard, um, but you just have to work at it to do it. Um, and I lost my train of thought where I was going with it.
I just meant, take some credit, when I'm trying to say, like, "Wow, what a great job you're doing," you can monetize that.
Oh
You
yeah,
can go into
well
business for
that's the
yourself. I'm just
that's
saying
the
you
end
wanna
game
be
here.
careful of, moving all of your eggs from one basket to another one where you're in charge of the basket. That's completely different. If you wanna talk about managing, that's managing, because that means that not only am I in charge of this team of people, but everything is under my umbrella, if not my control,
When I
which, like, okay, if our project fails, I'm at fault. Not only am I responsible for it, but bad things can happen because it didn't work.
Well, how about this? Can I put this on a resume and say hosted 2 podcasts with 2 different co-hosts, for over 50 episodes?
Yes, you can. It depends on what the resume is for. But if you're talking about management experience, yeah, this is a project. You've
Okay.
successfully pushed it further.
I'm
You
interested how you
created your own business.
I'm
Oh, I'm pretty good at managing what I'm working on.
I'm interested. See, but
You've juggled this with family life and work life.
see, I'm interested in that. Let's go down that rabbit hole. Do you honestly think that if I went through all the stuff I've been doing on a resume, that it would look good for someone looking for a leader or a manager?
Yes, it would. On my own, I decided to do this. This is something I wanted to do. This is something I did. This is something I made work.
See, I guess that depends because to me
I'm
that's
talking
like
over it.
that's all right. That's
Yeah, it's
like
just
that's like kid shit. Like
yeah.
if somebody did that, it'd be like,
No, it's not kid shit.
I
Not at
don't
all.
know.
You don't.
That's how I feel. If you read that on a resume, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's just saying like, I have an Instagram page. Like, no shit, everybody has an Instagram page.
You have a podcast.
Yeah.
Where's
Okay.
the podcast
Everybody and their
available?
grandma has a podcast.
Where's your podcast available? Is it only on Podbean?
No, it's everywhere.
Yeah. What do
Okay.
you say about the people who started their own podcast, but they only have one or two outlets for it? Or they don't have a Facebook presence or a Twitter presence or an Instagram presence or a TikTok presence.
But that's the thing. All that stuff is free, and anybody can do it. That's why I think it
But
doesn't
not
stand out.
everybody manages to do all of those and to keep it up. You've already broken the rule of 3. You've managed to uh, basically keep doing this for more than 3 months
Yeah.
or 3 episodes. What is the actually, that's not the magic number for podcasts that fail. What is it, 8? 7 or
Eight,
8?
8 episodes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
After that, it falls into limbo and you
I would
never,
believe
ever
that.
hear of it again.
Because I think about that a lot. Like, you might have an idea, but that idea only lasts you so long. You need to
Yeah.
keep up on stuff. Like, I don't know how the hell I've done this for 32 episodes.
And I used to be like that too. It was the same kind of thing. For me, it was mostly because when I was working full time for someone else, it became more than full time. So that in addition to the hours I was working, and I was always paid fairly for the hours that I worked, I was never asked to work off the clock. And any time that I put in more work or worry, that was all on me. And that's because for whatever reason, I'm just I'm of the mindset that everything has to be perfect. I just like I I don't know. It's something in my makeup, which is I must be OCD or something, where I just like everything just has to have be nicely tied up with a bow and that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, of course.
So when I worked full time, all of my time that I wasn't working was spent worrying about work or like, you know what, if I come in a little bit earlier, I might be able to juggle this a little bit better. But knowing that, all right, well, if I'm coming in earlier, then whatever.
Well, going down that rabbit hole too. See, I was
You
always
seem to be better at time management than I was. And considering that the department we worked for was time management, that doesn't reflect well on me, does it? See what I did there?
good one. Well, again, but to go to that, like, we reference Bert all the time, and Bert always told me that, like, because he compares me to Ralph Cramden. We've said that. We've talked about that. Every day I would go up to him and be like, "All right, man, here's what we're gonna do." Is my new thing that come up. But he said when you have kids, it'll be different.
Yeah, it
And
is.
I was like, I don't know, man. I think I'm still gonna, wanna do stuff. And then actually and then even after I had my son for a while, I was still like that because I actually sat next to I was in Florida for a conference at my position. And I sat next to the director on the bus to the thing. So my boss's boss, I sat next to him and I talked his ear off for the ride. And he told me that you look at your family first and your kids come first and all that stuff. Because I was like, all right, what can I do to get ahead? How can I do this? I'll do, I'll do whatever it takes, this and that other stuff. And then it took me, I don't know when the turning point was, but I'm very much in a like, man, I want to spend all day with my kids. I don't need this shit. I'd give everything up for all that. And that's also too that where it comes into wanting to be a comic book writer, wanted a podcast because that's stuff that I can do on my time and I can manage my time as I want so I can spend more time with my family. I'm in my wife's situation, the whole nine. Like it's all about now just wanting to spend more time with my family and
Good.
then having this job that especially that I'm not happy doing, it just takes me out of it even more. And that's, I think, a problem. So we've gone through the point of being young and started and hungry and wanting to do it all to now traveling through all the stages in life to being like, well, like this is just getting in the way of the rest of the stuff that's going on.
So
And it's a tough battle because now it's like, okay, and I thought about it the other day too, because there's people that obviously are devoted to their jobs and they work hard at their career and all that other stuff that have families. It's just different strokes for different folks. But me looking at that aspect now, it's like, yeah, man, that ain't me. Work is so a distant second right now. But so I mean, again, it's a hard aspect because then it's like, okay, do I just keep going through the motions so I can just get by and because it's working out okay doing what I'm doing, or do I need to keep working at it to keep working hard here, so and also working hard there, and then that's taxing, you know.
You have to know what you want to do next. If I can't give you anything from my whatever number of years of experience has been, it's that you do need to know what you want to do next. Don't fall into the lull of like the job's going to last for as long as it lasts. Have the next thing actively go out and start preparing for the next job you want to do, or until you're finding the perfect job. Remember, the end result is supposed to be the big t-shirt that says I heart work, meaning that everything that you're doing is exactly what you want to do. You wake up that day and you're like, great, I get to do this today. I didn't get to do that yesterday, but today I get to. And if not, well, then I've got all the other things that I don't hate doing. Oh my gosh.
Now,
And
do you
somebody will
bel
pay me for it. Oh my gosh. How about that?
do you believe in the philosophy or I guess the expression that it's why it's called work? If it was fun, it wouldn't be called work.
If it's got a little pithy saying, it needs to go fuck itself because I've just about had it with the sayings. And like I said, the little LinkedIn dictionary of like little aphorisms, like never mind. I
It's
don't
like
have a good example,
they're all
but
dated now. People need to come up with new sayings because I
well,
don't.
there should be more to get you to think about the right thing to do for yourself than just a little something that's sewn onto a little tablet that you put on your wall somewhere that says, like, God bless this house or something like that. You need something a little bit more meaty than that. And I'm just saying that the whole goal is to just do what you enjoy doing that you're good at doing. Even if you don't enjoy it, if you're really good at it, there is some satisfaction, sometimes at least, of really doing a really fine job, even if you didn't like it, as long as it brings joy to somebody else or satisfaction to somebody else or has a good end result.
So let's talk about that now,
Yeah.
because you bring up a good point with that, and this is something that actually we just brought up in my company. Watched a video on it. We talked about it. Where now instead of, I wish I could remember the example they used, but if there, oh, if you got a report card in school and you got
Ugh.
you got an F in math, but you got an A in social studies, which subject are you going to focus on more? Obviously, you're going to focus on math because you failed math. You need to work on math. But now that
Unless
changed.
it's a drag, it could be an anchor that's
Well, there
actually
you go.
dragging you down. Do you need the math? Or is
Well,
it just distracting you from something you didn't actually need to worry about?
and that's actually the case that they're focusing on is now, do you focus on your strengths and what you're good at rather than just worrying about working on getting better at your weaknesses?
It's almost like a character in Dungeon and Dragons, isn't it?
No.
Do you
Explain,
build up
elaborate.
well, you have a character sheet, right? With
Hmm.
all the different things. It's like, I have so many points I can allocate to these things. Do I put more into strength or intelligence or this? Well, what parts do I build up? Or what can I ignore and then really pile up on strength points for whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons in a while, but it's the same with like a character sheet where you're developing a character and you want the character to be well rounded, but not too weak in something that it can't afford to be weak in.
Yeah, I,
I guess.
I guess. See, I like, see, because then the concept to me comes up. We're going back to what we were saying is,
Yes, I
getting in.
saw that.
Yeah,
Don't
all
put
those
that
old
in.
sayings are still around because my father, of
No.
course, because they're usually true. I don't know
They
about
are
that.
true, but
I don't
because
know
the
about
fact
that
that
old
they're,
timer.
just a little quotable thing, it's just I don't know. There's too many I hate self-help books.
Yeah.
Let me just say that, and that anytime I see a little aphorism that makes me like
because
just a little bit.
things are different for everybody. That's why somebody's self help book might work out for 5 people over here, but not for 10 people over there. So it's different for everybody. But now going back to the other aspect of it is how do
Well,
you know?
I have something else that might shed a little light on that,
Go ahead.
which is that if you're an audiobook narrator, that's one of the most popular subjects is a self-help book because out of the gazillions of self-help books that come up all the time for self-published or just regular books, only a very few have any real background or really know what they're talking about. Most of the rest are just people like, "Oh, look, I could write a book and possibly make money because I think I know what I'm talking about.
But what I'm
I
saying
don't have
is
any credentials,
it
but
may not help every single person that reads it, or I might not get through to every single person that reads it. 10 people read that book, 5 people might throw it out the window, and 5 people might live by it.
I just wanted to be wary of people who might take you down a dead end.
Yeah.
And then once you've exhausted the possibilities that the author has given you, you're left with nothing else to do, and your life can implode if it's a very bad self-help book.
Yeah.
Remember,
I
there
mean,
used to be
that's
books like with titles like "Looking Out for Number One" by Robert Ringer, once upon a time. And there's the 7 Habits for 7 Highly Effective People. There are all sorts of books out there. That one's by Steve Covey. He's pretty good, but just be careful. Are you going to follow a self help book because it's like a guru, or because the author knows what they're talking about?
well, that's the thing. I mean, especially now, I get friend requests on Instagram from people who are like life coaches, and they're like half my age. I'm like, what do you know about life? You don't know shit about life. My life coach, fuck out of here.
Uh,
Yeah.
Depends on the person. It really does.
So now also too,
You
because we
don't have
talked
to be
about,
old to have life experience.
yeah, well, that's true. You don't have to be old, but maybe you haven't seen the shit I've seen, you know?
It
Um,
depends on the background and the person.
yeah.
Really.
But really it's just kids wanting to, you know, post a bunch of pictures of them traveling and being like, hey, I've been to different lands, so I'll teach you how to be happy. Fuck out of here. Um, but so talking about focusing on your strengths and what you're good at,
Yes.
see, to me, it's challenging to know what you're good at. I don't, to focus on my strengths over my weaknesses, I don't know what strength I have to focus on.
Well, sometimes that's why it's good to get another person's point of view. And by that, it could be something as simple as seeing a therapist.
Yeah.
Now, remember that therapy in the last 50 years or more has gotten a lot more traction in society because this is one of the ways to cope with a world that changes every single 3 months these days, where the rules are different at the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year. And if you can't see what your own strengths are, it's good to be able to talk to someone. And most medical insurance plans pay for somebody. Just a regular therapist, a psychologist, not a psychiatrist, is could be very beneficial.
Pretty sure my
Most people I know have a therapist or have seen one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I
Most of them.
s
It's not just a few or like, oh, I've got a few friends. No, it's almost everybody.
oh, yeah. I saw one for a couple sessions. I couldn't afford to keep paying for it. Um, but I
Well,
believe my
like I said, it depends on the circumstance and the
yeah. I
insurance.
I believe my company offers something for free like that.
Most companies offer these days a good wellness
Yeah.
program, and wellness includes medical fitness. I'm sorry, health, mental fitness.
Hold on one sec.
We have another. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, it's
There you
so
are.
yeah, so yeah. Change is inevitable, no matter if you make it or the job does. Better that it is you. Scott is right. Keep working at what you have already built. See, now but again, that goes back to what I initially
Keep the
said,
cutting edge.
but
Never lose sight of it.
that
That
goes back
you
to,
are good at something.
well, but again, talking about what we did much earlier on, saying, okay, I worked in this department for a while. I know a lot about this department. And so why wouldn't I be good at leading this department? That is working at what I've already built. Working at what I've already built isn't working
It's
it
a
anymore.
different job altogether. And that's something that it takes a long time to understand. Even with retail, where basically you get to be manager by not quitting. Uh,
Yeah.
that's
I know
basically how
whoever's
it
there the
works. Is like
longest, right?
whoever's left, like who gets the key next? He's still here. Give it to him.
Oh, that was
Everybody
Mark.
else quit.
That was
Mm,
Mark who said that.
Ah,
Okay. I thought it was yeah, so here's one from my dad saying, "What made me good and get to the top of my field was never thinking I was good enough." Which that I get too.
you always have to be challenged. As
Yeah.
soon as you like that's what I was trying to say before. You have to keep that edge. Whatever you're good at needs to stay sharp. So that that's your leading edge. If you're Captain America, man, that shield's kind of important, right?
Yes.
If you drop it on the ground, you let it get dirty, you forgot where you left it, like, oh my gosh, how much is that little helmet thing going to help you? Not much, just saying. So, in any event, you've got to just
You're right. You get attacked by your
uh,
headphones.
something like that. I can't remember what I was talking about now.
I zoned out too. I was listening though. No,
Scott, come home.
I
He's
hit a
way out
brick
there.
hit a brick wall.
Anyway, oh, that's right. We were talking about keep what you're good at in sight, and because that is something that makes you well, everybody's replaceable anytime you work for a company. Otherwise, they wouldn't ever be able to close entire departments down, that kind of thing, or just meld them, change them, whatever. I guess all I'm trying to say is that management may just be a different animal than you think it is. It's not just a progression from I learned, I did, and then I did this. I think what you're thinking of in terms of manager means almost more like trainer or the person who knows everything at the top who can now share all of that with below, as opposed to a manager who's there just to do something completely different.
I suppose, but I do look at it. I mean, again, I've been around long enough to know what a manager does, and I don't know everything about everything, so that's why I should be the one in charge. I think it's more so the one that wants to take control and be a leader of the group. And I think not really a lot of folks in my group wanted that responsibility. Because I mean, none of them in my group went for the role. I was the only person in my group who went for the position.
Right.
Um, so I mean, it shows that I want to do more to it. I don't think I marketed myself because, well, it's a whole other story. The guy who was the hiring manager was actually only in that role for like 3 months, and then he left to go to a different role again. So, and yet he hired somebody and is supposed to know my whole story and their whole team and blah blah blah. It's a whole deal, but I guess the nature of the beast because the constant revolving door of people moving around and doing new
Yes,
things.
that's right.
So, I mean, it was really, just getting the shaft again and again and again. But
You can't look at it like that. That doesn't do you any good, and it
and
doesn't do
that's
you any
that's
justice
true.
either.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
that's true.
if you get the feeling like that, then you need to leave that position if you can't make a difference in it to the people who are directing that position. Keep in mind they're playing a different game than you are. They have maybe the same end results that they're looking for, but they're most of the time when you start to rise in a company, you're also looking to justify your position in that company. And there's no one who's at so much of a risk of being goned or disappeared, I guess is a better verb to disappear somebody, is middle management. They're the ones who are trying to justify their roles to upper management. And, upper management sometimes can be clueless. You've heard about all those Twitter tweets from and to Elon Musk that got revealed during one of those trials. and it was basically a whole bunch of billionaires who just talking up each other's storm or whatever the phrase is. Just who didn't sound like they had any plans. It just sounded like, geez, you guys are billionaires and you don't really have an idea what you're talking about.
I didn't hear about that.
It was like, wow.
Hmm.
Like, oh, I think we can do this by doing that. Like, huh? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it's like. The person above you wants to do less, so
You don't
they
know
need
that.
you to do
You
more.
don't know that. Well, actually, maybe you do. But there are some people who are above you who are really dedicated. I don't know.
But
I always thought like
I
that.
don't. Yeah, I don't
Whenever I
mean
got up
not
higher,
dedicated,
I always wanted to be the good guy and not the person who like, oh, so and so's never there. I guess that manager doesn't care.
but I
So they
feel like,
just give all the work to somebody else. I didn't want to be that guy, and
but
I
I feel like
wasn't.
you'd want your subordinates to make your job easier.
Yeah, but I would want to do it without making the subordinates suffer.
Okay,
But
see
then I would
that's
micromanage. So I'm not a good example of what to do. I'm a good example of like, okay, let's be careful about this. Remember, I spent years in the last job not really knowing what was going on or having a clue as to the changes that were coming. Remember when we had all new bosses put in, and it took me forever to try to figure out like what they wanted me to do, what they didn't want me to do. I just don't seem to be very intuitive
mhm.
sometimes as to what the end result is that was looked for. And as a result, I probably came across as a little short-sighted as
Mm,
far as what the big boss really wanted, which was completely different from what my own boss had mentioned at the time, and didn't realize there was something that was not adding up.
yeah,
Being too vague, I know that, but
that's all right. See, I've had so let's see, I've been with this company 7 years, I think already, which is nuts thinking
yeah.
about it. Um, and I've had 7 different managers.
And
So
the last job that we worked at together, we've had several, and actually after you left, I had several different managers.
yeah, well, after I left, things went even crazier over there.
Yes.
Yeah, because that was the whole regime change, and
So you should
that was
expect
the
that.
mess. I,
Especially
I
if
get,
you're in a big company, it's going to happen. Do you want to be in that environment?
but then now again, because that who does that hurt? That hurts somebody trying to get ahead. There's plenty of people in their positions who are just fine. Like I remember when I first got to this company, I went out to lunch with some guys, and I was like, "So what's?" And I was here like a couple months, and I asked them, "Hey, what's up with you guys? What's what's next for you guys?" And they were like, "Nothing. I'm kind of good where I'm at, you know." And I was like, "Really? Like that's it? Like you guys are just like fine with this job, with this, working where you're at?" And and then they were. Now one of them is a manager, and one of them is like he still does support, but he does like special support for a special group. But
You want more than they did. I know you.
well,
And
yeah,
I know you
hell
will
yeah.
do better. You don't I really think that wanting to be a manager where you are is incorrect. I think you should either have a position that you, as opposed to what's available to you, look to see what there is in that company that you would prefer to do.
Well, see, and that's where I'm at right now. Is I need to look and see what interests me because I mean now again
You're
outside of
good at what you
leadership
do. I already
because
know
I
that.
I tried leadership and leadership obviously isn't for me. So now outside of leadership, I have to
No,
think about
don't
what's
short
for me.
cite yourself or whatever the word is, like
No, there's too many
leadership or
times.
something.
Leadership ain't for me. I'm too rough around the edges. If it hasn't happened in 12 years or 20 years, it ain't gonna
If you
happen.
want to be a
So,
leader, then you can become one.
yeah, well then maybe I don't want to
But
become one.
then that's
Maybe
different.
maybe I don't want to become the type of leader they're looking for.
That's a
That's I
good
think how
answer
I feel
actually.
about it. And so yeah,
Yeah.
like Scott said, never lose that edge and keep up the good work ethic. And that's obviously something that you have to maintain and it becomes very difficult but it
I
still
think
needs to be
that's
there.
a good point. Is that your work ethic is wonderful. I've, geez, you don't even rest. Uh, I wonder how many people really
You give me way too
underestimate
much credit now, or
just how many
maybe I put
people
on a
in
good
this
show.
country really do want to work. People always, oh, welfare, everybody's looking on the dole, blah, 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 blah. How many people do you ever know who are like near poverty, really, really do not want to be on the dole? I don't think I know anybody who's poor who would take any charity that they could possibly avoid getting, outside of people who have been hurt in some way, or people who've become, I don't know, depressed beyond belief.
I'm not
I
sure.
think most of the people in this country really do have that work ethic. I
Oh
don't think
yeah.
you're taking credit.
Well, I think a problem too is I think a lot of younger folks hold out for stuff like this. I can make money. There's a dude I listen to and I talk about him all the time. His name's Gary V.
Yeah.
And he talks about the what you can do now. He's like, if you love the Smurfs, start an Instagram page and a podcast about the Smurfs and talk about the Smurfs and grow a following around the Smurfs, and you could monetize that and you can make money about the Smurfs. So just talking about the Smurfs. Peanut
Right.
butter, you love it. If there's a peanut butter you love, you can sponsor that you can get big enough where that peanut butter will sponsor you and pay you to now you're an influencer for that peanut butter. And that's I think what a lot of like, why am I going to put in a lot of effort to do this shit when I can actually do something that I enjoy doing? And if I start working at it now, by the time it comes, I will be even better at it.
Yeah.
Somebody said, I believe you too, Scott. A very small percentage of people want to be on welfare. And I think that's true. But again,
This
for
country, I mean,
younger
you really
folks,
yes.
for for younger folks that don't have that problem yet, I don't think that work ethic is there. Where they have to
I
worry like, "Oh
don't
my god, I gotta hurry up and get a job." It's like, no, they're still working they're still living at home. They're not scraping they're not scraping nickels together right now. When you're scraping nickels together, then yeah, you gotta find a job. But there's plenty of people who aren't in that much of a hole yet that are not willing to dive into the workforce and start building their careers yet. It's only when
d-
it's too late, which we might not see for another few years, that there's another boom because people are desperate now. Like, okay, shit, I need to start making money. And what I originally had planned out is not working out.
of society is changing. It's not what it was when you were a kid. It is not what it was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
But you
you're
can do
right.
so much more now.
Kids don't want to go out and get that job when they're 15 anymore. They don't want to go and deliver newspapers anymore.
No,
Although I don't recall the last time I saw a newspaper delivery boy.
because they can make content on TikTok and hopefully it blows up and then they can make money being sponsored on TikTok with ads or
That's a
YouTube
pretty
videos.
small percentage of people.
It
But
is.
yes, they are using social media and the technology that we have now to monetize in ways that we didn't think of or that wasn't available to us when we were younger. So if
Exactly.
we wanted to make money, we couldn't have used anything electronic
And I think that's what
back in the day.
deters people from diving into a much harder workforce because they can focus on doing shit like that. And that's where it comes to where people don't want to work.
Hmm.
It's not that they don't want to work, they don't want to do the jobs that nobody wants to do. Nobody fucking grows up and, wishes to do tech support, for payroll software when they're a kid. You know,
No, but
it
if
just
the choices are
happens.
that or ditch digging, don't forget, you are in a unique spot in this country. You're in the tri state area, you're near New York City. There are jobs here. You go out just to Pennsylvania and west, there aren't jobs out there. There are places where people would die for a desk job. There are people who line up for jobs at McDonald's, not just as manager, just because there are no jobs. There are those places in the Midwest, for instance, where cities have been built on industries that have gone, but the people still remain, and the towns are still there, the families are still there. They're not going to leave each other. So don't
No,
forget, they're. Geez, I don't know how to put it, but I think I'm just repeating what I said before. Have a plan. Have some sort of a milestone. And the older I get, the more necessary I see it as being. It's like, I know what I'm doing right now, and I know what I want to do next. And I'll find a way to make that happen. Because now I've gotten the tools over the last years, and including a lot of tools I learned at my previous jobs. I learned enough during those hard years at our previous job that I know what it's like to work for somebody who's got a very short leash on of like, oh, that's not good enough. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to redo that. Oh no, no, you missed that deadline. Sorry, you don't get a second chance. So I know what that's like, and because of that, it makes it easier. Do you know how to climb a mountain? When let's say you're really out of shape, okay? You don't get out that much. For me, I go for walks all the time. Oh, I'm on a flat surface there, buddy. I'm going at my own pace. I'm stopping, taking photographs of like, oh, that's a cool looking tree. Click, click. Like, oh, look, that's a cloud. It looks like a little horse head. That kind of thing. I'm not getting that much in the way of exercise. How could I climb a mountain? The answer:
uh,
climb three. And that one mountain becomes like, oh, it's a piece of cake. It's the same with working when you're under stress. Use what bad times you've had in the past. They've made you stronger. Anytime you have to work through something, reflect on it. Never let the lesson be lost. Always, uh, whenever something unfair happens to you, don't use those same techniques on someone else. That's what you can get at it. I've made mistakes. I've done bad things. Well, not bad things, but stupid things as manager or whatever. And all the best I can do is like, well, guess I won't do that again.
see, I like that mentality because that is the opposite of what I mentioned earlier about talking about working on your strengths. That is like honing your weaknesses and, like you said, rounding yourself out. See, I would agree. See, I mean, maybe that's just because that's the way everybody's wired and programmed. Is if you're not good at something, get good at it rather than just work on the thing you are good at.
It depends where you want to go next. Why are you working on the engines? Is it going to go somewhere? Are you putting together a car that's going to drive somewhere? Are you putting together an exercise program so you can climb those three stupid mountains in order to climb that one without having to worry about it? And by the way, that is how I got to walk faster, better than ever before. I learned how to walk very easily going 2 miles by walking 10. And
Interesting.
it works. And it's the same with going
That
through
makes
stress
sense.
at work. As long as it doesn't destroy you, and you have to learn when to get out. That's why planes have ejection seats,
That's the hard part. You know what? Is
or
to
at least
do it.
modern planes anyway. I feel awful for those pilots of the World War II planes that crashed yesterday. It was just,
I didn't hear about that.
yeah, midair collision at an air show.
Oh my goodness, that's terrible.
Ah, but I
Uh,
don't know why I just flashed to that. But Veterans
so
Day and all that, I've been thinking about that lately. So
oh yeah. Oh jeez. Well,
anyway,
yeah. I don't know.
and I think of all my friends who served, and I wish I had. But and I'm
Yeah.
sorry, never mind. It would have made me a better person.
Oh, I'm sure.
Being in the armed forces back when I was just a kid and all just soft on the outside, that kind of thing, would have toughened me up
Yeah. I don't know. I have a
or
friend
killed
who,
me.
my friend Seth did it, and yeah, it wasn't for me. He was built for it. He was like programmed to do it. Not for me. I'm okay with having no part of it.
Now, anyway,
Yeah. So
Neither here nor there. Sorry
I
about
was
the digression.
no, that's all right. I was trying to think too what the hell I was gonna say, and now I forgot. Yeah, I don't know. I think we touched on a lot of good stuff here. We kind of used myself as it was almost like a little therapy session for me, but I think it was a lot of helpful information because I think there's a lot of I don't know because I honestly have not come in contact with a lot of people like myself who
Well, that's
maybe
what
not
makes you stand out.
I would say maybe not to say as hungry as I am, but that constantly strive to get ahead and don't. I mean, because the people I know, it's like they try and they get it, and that's it. Like I
Oh,
haven't
that's
seen
the
people that
same. Yeah. There are people who just seem to have an instinct for it, and I have none.
yeah,
I feel like I have to make every single mistake in order to do one thing right. I have to do
that's
everything wrong first because I
right.
have no intuition about which way to point myself in.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
see.
why I'm trying to tell you and anybody who's listening to this who wants tips is like have a plan. So if it isn't intuitive what to do next, you at least know what's supposed to be coming up next
Yeah,
and embrace people. That's the worst thing you could do now is on this era of working remotely, not embracing those who are with you in the same household, which is a great way to keep your stronger bonds with your family than you might have had when you worked at an office. But don't neglect to go out and still connect with people in person. You can only do so much through Zoom.
yeah. You got to really work at life, man.
Yeah.
It's a
If it
lot.
was easy, everybody be doing it.
Yeah,
As that aphorism says.
yeah.
What I did there?
That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think making a plan again, and that's something that's tough because when I first started, I didn't have one, and then I just tried to, whatever went at whatever, and tried to see what stuck, and then I didn't have a direct game plan because that was a big thing too. It's like, okay, do you want to go the technical route? Then you got to stay doing this stuff, or you can go the manager route, and you got to do this stuff. But you got to pick a course because you can't go halfway down the technical and realize, shit, I want to do management stuff.
Yes, that's
Then you
correct.
got to start over, and but you're already here, so you can't start over. So
And even if it takes us time, you have to be in a spot where you can get the headspace to not have everything. Part of the problem with being in the desk job kind of thing, especially when it's busy at work, is being so focused and so intently intent on whatever it is that the job is that you don't get to bob up to the surface and take a look around and get enough space to just relax enough to actually think of like, oh my God, what am I doing? Where am I going? Do I want my whole life only to say like, you know what? I worked really hard on a time clock that nobody uses any longer. I'm glad I did that with my life.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
do you want it to be known as like, well, that didn't matter, but you know what? All the people that I interacted with while I was working on the time clock, they appreciated me. I made a difference. Even if I don't have anything physical to show for it, who does? Even the pyramids crumble into dust at some point. But maybe I could do both. Maybe I could make a difference in what I'm doing and give back a little bit, which is what I'm trying to do with the audiobooks and that kind of stuff. I'm just everything that's fascinated me over my lifetime. I want to figure out one piece at a time and offer it back as something, whether it's an audiobook or maybe an audio drama or a podcast or something, and just say like, look, I have this fascination with this topic, like I don't know, the Beatles or airships, you know, zeppelins, as it were. Of like, why does that fascinate me? Something that large in the sky that's the size of like five Goodyear blimps, back to back to back to back to back,
Hmm.
that just hanging over there like it did, 75 years ago in New Jersey.
Yeah, I know. It was
Just
the
really
Hindenburg,
cool
wasn't it?
things. That was one of them. But
Yeah.
that was a German one. We had our own airships in the United States.
Okay.
the Los Angeles, and we had well, never mind. Yes, the smile, like, oh, there goes
Say,
Scott. Come back, Scott.
we'll
Reel
save
it in,
that
reel it in.
for Scott's History of the World podcast.
I found a nice meme online that somebody had used. I think it was somebody on Twitter named Fake History Hunter, who had a little like swear jar, and next to it was like unasked for history facts jar, crammed with dollars and things. Because that's me.
Yeah. I know. We know. We've all
I
learned
know,
that.
the hard way.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of nice lessons here, a lot of
Yeah,
information for folks. I think would be helpful to plan ahead, like you said, and yeah,
and hopefully I've charged you up a little bit. You do so much good here with your thoughts on this. All of the podcasts you did with the Cube Nerds when you were the only one on it recording in your car, and how listenable those are. They
are they
are
though?
really good. They're honest. I like the fact that you use a little bit of salty language just right. And it doesn't offend me in the least.
Well, thank you, Scott. And look at us now.
Yeah,
Look at us now. We're live streaming on 3
we're
different
live streaming.
platforms.
I'm still here. You're still there, wearing one of those really cool beanies that I saw an advert for
I will.
yesterday, I think.
Yes, I will put this over. I don't know if you can see. It's an XL too, so it's like a huge one. Um, I will put this over because I'm going to post a link and probably in the YouTube chat.
Is
So
your head likely to grow an egg shaped, or is this for
no,
like a cone head beanie?
well, I was thinking about it. It's actually probably for people who like have a lot of hair and all their hair gets tucked into there, and I don't have any hair. So,
My God,
yeah,
where
as
did it
if
all
anybody
go?
didn't
No,
know.
no, yes.
But I'll tell you what. So these things were on sale recently because this is all right. So I have a lot of these beanies, not this exact kind of beanie, but I have a lot of these beanies from a company called King and Fifth. I think they're out of Chicago. Um, they're great
King and
for
Fifth,
King and
FIFTH.
Fifth. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think they're out of Chicago. And again, I mean, shaving my head gets cold, and I love these beanies. Even springtime, summertime, I don't really wear them, but springtime, I wear them. Fall, I wear them. And then the wintertime, obviously, I wear them. This is the cashmere beanie. They have all different kinds,
Cashmere.
different brands. Yeah, it's cashmere. It's way too expensive. Usually I wouldn't get one, but they were on sale, like on sale a lot. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get one because it's like more than half off. And this thing is like a cloud wrapped around my head. I've worn it almost all day. It's so comfortable. Plus, I have two other ones. I've tried to look for beanies on Amazon and stuff at a cheaper price because, again, these are kind of a little pricey
Well,
for
how is
for
a
a
beanie
beanie.
different from a skull cap?
So a skull cap just it just wraps your head. A
Okay.
beanie is gives you a little more room. Skull caps are a little more snug fit, which I thought I liked, but I like these beanies because they're a little looser on my head. And
Okay.
eventually, after wearing it for so long, it's like it's just so comfortable. I don't even realize it's there, and it just keeps my head warm, and it's nice and it's comfortable. I must have at least 5 of these. Not the cashmere ones. It's the only cashmere one I've got, but I like 5 of the other ones. I love these beanies. They're so comfortable. And like I said, I've tried to look on Amazon for cheaper ones, and I just can't. I can't find one that's for that's cheaper. That's for a better price at this good quality. And as that's very corny pitch for them, but that's exactly the case. Like you got to spend the money on them because there's no other one that I can find that's as good and as comfortable as these ones.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are they a sponsor of this podcast?
kind
No,
of.
but they should be.
Yeah, because I have a link. I have a link that I'm going to put in the description of the YouTube video that of the beanie I'm wearing. This is the referral link, and I think you get like 20% off or something initially. And there's a code too. If you sign up with your email, you get a code. You get like another 15% off. And so yeah, so
I've heard of it. I think they actually give you a $10 off coupon,
there you go.
and there's another like offer for like a percentage off. I don't know if you can combine them, but it's pretty nice.
Yeah, well, like I said, they do where all the kinds are on sale, and then if they're on sale already, and then you can use a coupon on top of that, and then then you get a nice discount. So when that comes around, it's worth it, or even it's worth just to get one because I lose them. That's why I have so many. All my ones from last year, they're gone. I don't even know where they are. So I had to buy 2 more.
Your daughter
Um,
probably collected them all or
yeah, I mean,
something. And
but I bought some for my wife
where are they?
too. Yeah, I know. That's I know. I let my kids have them. They're gone forever. That's what, like, I got some for my wife too, because they're just super comfortable. And like I said, I can't find any where the quality is as good for a cheaper price. So I'm stuck with them because they're
Well,
awesome.
I still have my wool caps. If you're, and I have a couple cashmere ones now that are nice.
Oh,
The
there you
ones with
go.
a little ball on the top, like Mike
Yep.
Nesmith from the Monkees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still looking for one of
I
those.
know
If
the ones.
there's anybody out there who can refer me to somebody who makes them.
Oh, okay.
And I want a John Lennon cap too, like he had in 1964. Always wanted one of those.
You want one of those? You have one of those.
I want one of those.
You want.
Want.
Okay.
So when you
All right.
find one for me, please let me know,
Yes.
and I will thank you on air very much
Yeah.
for
So for
providing me with that.
all the Beatlemaniacs out there that remember the cap that Scott's talking about, that
Yes,
Lennon was
which
wearing.
he's not wearing in this picture. See, I'm getting my little cubicle decorations ready to put up. So here's a little inspiration for Beatle pictures. I've got other ones over here, but I'm not going to do that to you tonight.
When I was on, I don't think I
You're
mentioned this.
welcome.
Maybe even the. I think I mentioned this when I was like on last
I don't really know.
Cube Nerds episode.
Mike Nesmith, yes, there
Mike
you are.
Nesmith. Yeah, you said that. I know
That's right, Davey.
Scott knows his monkeys and Scott knows his Beatles.
I do. And
Uh,
sometimes the twain do meet.
they what?
Sometimes they meet.
When do they meet?
Well,
When have the monkeys met the Beatles?
during the Sgt. Pepper album sessions.
Oh yeah.
So if you see the promo video for A Day in the Life, you'll notice that amongst Mick Jagger being on set, but Mickey Dolenz was there as well as Mike Nesmith, and Peter Tork played with George Harrison on something. He wasn't used on the recording, but he was used on the live thing playing banjo.
All right.
So
there's your
sorry
little.
to give you more than you were asking for.
There's your little music trivia for this episode too. So,
There we
all right,
go.
Scott, plug the rest of your stuff.
I'm at mckinleyco.com. That's my website. And in there, I've got links for the audiobooks that currently are out and available from Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. So 3 different audiobooks right now, including my latest one called Lennon, the Mobster, and the Lawyer by Jay Bergen, as well
Very
as
cool.
some links to some of my voice work I've been doing on a couple of audio dramas like Madison on the Air and Audion, the latest of which just aired last week from
Very
a
cool.
old-time radio program called Escape.
And are your social media links on your website as well?
Geez, I'm not sure if they are, to be honest with you. I'll have to talk to Austin about that because I don't remember if I did, but they should be. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as Scott R. McKinley.
Perfect. So, yep. So you can find me on Mike Spear at
And
Mike
YouTube.
Spear Jr. on pretty much everything. Yeah, it's what I
And
can't
Spear
change the name of it.
Studios on
Yeah,
YouTube.
Spear Studio. If you just search Spear Studios, it comes up Spear Studios. But the direct link is youtube.com/mspear632. I don't know how to change that yet. But if you just search Spear Studios, you can go on there and you can find the past 2 episodes. Or actually, I think there's 3 episodes of Cube Nerds. The past 9 or 10, 13, 14, whatever we're up to for the Mind Your Effing Business podcast. And you can find them anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Our podcasts are literally on everything. You can see it scrolling across the screen, but in case you're listening on a podcast, you can go to tpublic/stores/spear-studios, Spear SPEER, and you can find Cube Nerds merchandise, Mind Your Effing Business podcast merchandise, and also merchandise for my comic, Championship Wrestling League. Number 1 is out right
CWL?
now. Yes. CWL number 1 is available now at the Pop Quiz Apparel Etsy shop. Etsy.com/shop/Pop Quiz Apparel. And issue 2 is completely drawn. I just need to get the second half of it colored and then start lettering it. And then it will be available digitally. And then if I make enough money, I can have it available in print form too. That's if I make enough money, because that shit is expensive.
Yes, it is.
Alrighty, man.
Okay.
I wish there was enough time we could keep this going regularly, but like I told you, we'll talk. And if you get some guests, or if you want to run it on your own, man, you could take the reins when I'm not available.
Well, I'll do my best to do that. So if you'll, one of the things that you do so well is show me how to use the tools that you've already been using and taught yourself.
We will. I'll see how
To
I can
my
make.
amazing props for you. Thank you.
Yep. Or I could just give you the login info, and you can get in that way and set up your own podcast. And
Yeah,
it's like I said,
figure
man,
it all
it's
out, and all that time that you've spent very well.
well, like I said, the reason I do it all is because it's all pretty simple. That's why I do so much of it. It's all pretty simple. It's just a matter of putting in the work and the time. Anyone can do it if you put your mind to it.
Especially if you show them.
Which I
No,
will.
not just me, but you might consider doing a little bit of podcasting about podcasting.
Thought about that.
Very
And
meta.
also about creating the podcast about podcast, or creating the comic, because I know that's something that I wish I had, and I wish it
Coffee
was.
table book about coffee tables.
Yeah, yeah. That's a Seinfeld reference.
Yes, it is. Remember when the book had little eggs underneath it that collapsed under the book?
Nope. It's funny how I've never seen that episode, yet I know that that's a Seinfeld reference.
Yep. There's just a certain rhythm to it, as it were.
All righty, man. Well, yeah, that'll do it. This is the longest podcast in a while. We're coming up on 2 hours here almost.
Yep. Anyway, hope to do it again with you at some point soon. Otherwise, hope Seth will be back.
Yes, sir.
On your Mind Your Fucking Business or effing business, because obviously we want to watch our P's and Q's.
Yeah, effing is more marketable than the whole word. So. Yep. All righty, sir. We will talk again soon. Thank you, everyone, for watching tonight. A lot of engagement tonight, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, Mike.
That'll
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
Bye.
Bye.